Welcome to a Life of Freedom podcast, your source of inspiration and information on how and why you should choose to pursue your own happiness, pursue your passion, and design a life that fulfills you and makes it your own. And now here's your host, Ayesh LKZ.
Welcome to episode 9 of season 2. Today we are talking with Jamie Date, a dating coach specialized in online dating. Let's get to the show. Before we start, I would like to talk about Wise, formerly known as TransferWise. Receive money directly to your account with zero fees, wherever you are in the world. Hold and convert money to over 40 currencies instantly in your account. And get a debit card to spend in any currency, all with Wise's low and transparent fees. Try it out from my affiliate link below, with no additional cost to you. And now, back to the podcast.
Tell us who you are and what you do and like how you got started.
Okay, so hi guys. My name is Jamie Date. I am a male dating coach in America. I live in Los Angeles. However, I have clients all over the world. I first got into this about 5 years ago. I wasn't a dating coach originally, but I started off working as what we would call a drill model in the industry. And basically I facilitated like safe spaces for men to practice their flirting skills, their conversational skills. And I've been doing it ever since. And I started getting more and more clients, and I started working for an amazing company called Modern Flirting. And we have built it up. And then I was promoted to a dating coach a couple of years ago. Yeah. And that's how it all started. Yep.
So when you start working as a drill model, so when was that, and so how did you got into that?
So my first real professional post-college gig was I was a door-to-door salesman. Actually, I sold solar panels for housing. So I'd go around knocking on doors, and as a door knocker, you got to be very quick to get people to like you, right? You have 2 seconds, or less than that, honestly. And that's something I grew to become very good in and started training. So I would train people to be door-to-door salespeople, and I was really good at it. It's all body language, tonalities, being able to riff, being able to, like I said, make people like you in a very short amount of time. I got very good at. So I did that for 3 years. I made a bunch of money, and lo and behold, I hated it. Right. And that's a tale as old as time. So I quit, and through Craigslist, which if you don't know what Craigslist is, it is a website to sell random things, job posting, random stuff. It's kind of a lawless land, Craigslist is. And I found a job posting. Hey, come to this party. We'll pay you. All the drinks are free, what have you. But you just have to talk to the men. They're at a men's boot camp, and you have to talk to the men and then let us know how they did. I was like, this is weird. All right, I'll give it a shot, So I go and I meet the guys, and we're having honestly, you can take me any sort of party and I'll have a great time. So I ended up meeting the guys, talking to the guys, dancing, laughing, all that good stuff. And then at the end, so funny, they took us in the back room. They're like, all right, so how did Bob do? How did Michael do? How did Jacob do? And I was able to break it down very detailed as to what they did right, what they did wrong, what they need, what their challenges are, sticking points, things like that. And I was so detailed and explained things so well because of my sales training background that they all kind of looked at each other and were like, do you want to work for us? I was like, sure. So then, I would just do these boot camps every month or so. And I loved it. I loved it. It was great because I really felt like I was helping these men, I felt like I was helping these guys, journeying with them and guiding with them through some of the greatest fears, talking to pretty women and, creating that safe space for them to practice and get more confidence in is so good. Because the other thing too, you have to think about it is, women, we complain all the time about, men, they approach me all the time. They're annoying and I don't want it and And that's not true. It's just if they had done it better, we would have a much better time with it. So why not be the and also we expect men to approach us at the end of the day because we're not going to do it. So, be the change you want to see in the world, or at least help teach the change you want to see in the world. And that's kind of why I love what I do. And now fast forward, I grew on TikTok. I started a TikTok channel back in January and that's taken off. And I've been doing these gigs now. And now I've gotten really into online dating. I'm going to be coming out with a course soon, an online dating course. It's going to be great. So then here I am.
Yeah, that's great. So how would you help someone to get started with it?
So I teach, it's an hour and a half course. And we go through, it's a Zoom session, kind of like this, where we go through your dating profile. So the biggest ones in America are Hinge, Tinder, and Bumble. At least for the younger, generation. We still got Match and eHarmony, but those are kind of trailing off. And so together we go through your photos, your bios, your prompts, your messaging strategy. I show you statistically which ones that work the best, photos that work the best, photos that work the least. I teach you how to take better photos. Together, we write your bios and prompts together. We work on those together. And then I go through your messages and I teach you how to build attraction with your messaging. So messaging strategy is also very important. And I've gotten a lot of success. A lot of guys really, I don't think I've ever not had a guy leave the session with, anything less than I had no idea. That's always the consensus. I had no idea that this picture is the reason. And then all of a sudden they, always message me a week, 2 weeks later. Oh my God, Jamie, I'm getting all these matches. And that's the thing that warms my heart. If I can help people make stronger romantic connections, that's the most important thing. Honestly, what else are we doing? Yeah.
So can you talk about, pictures and message bios. So how would you define a good picture for an online dating?
How would I define a good picture? I would define a great online dating picture as the following. It's something I referred to as the first photo commandments. And it's thou shalt not wear sunglasses in your first photo. Okay. Thou shalt not, be in a group where I have to figure out which one you are. Don't shield your face. People wear face masks or sunglasses or hats that cover their entire face. Women care about what you look like. We do. And it's not because we're shallow. It's not because that's a human trait. It's the same reason why you care about what we look like, right? I will say women are a little bit more lenient on the face than men are with women, but so basically anything that's shielding your face, if it's too far away, that's the other thing. So many guys will do super far away where it's a beautiful landscape and it's showing where you've been, where you've traveled. But if that's not important to us, we're not trying to go on a date with the mountains in the background. We're trying to go on a date with you. So we want to know what you look like, right? It's the same thing goes when guys take selfies really close to their face, or, just a selfie in general, men don't do very good in. Mirror selfies, also not good photos. Men don't track very well on good photos. The other thing is smiling. Smiling with your teeth it subcommunicates confidence. It subcommunicates being well groomed. It subcommunicates that you are approachable, safe, fun guy. And that's what women are after.
Okay, yeah. So how about like the bio? What kind of things you put on there, and what kind of information or what kind of things you should do?
So for the bios and prompts, for me, one of my favorite things is I try, like, you could go online, you can get a million different like quippy one-liners to put on your profile to be funny and whatnot. And those will work. There's some really funny ones out there, but let's be funny about you. Let's actually take things in your life that, you really, that you really want to talk about, that are interesting, that are going to attract the right type of girl. People have commonalities with you, but let's frame it in a way that's witty, funny, creative, that kind of tells a story about you. You also really want to get away from like the lists, right? So, like just writing down a grocery list as far as like what you like and what you don't like, that never really works. Besides, it also hurts your algorithms when you're doing online dating.
So what is like a prompt that you say?
So a prompt is when like Hinge is known for this. It's when an online dating app, instead of asking like just you to write a bio, which is just an open-ended paragraph about yourself or whatever, a prompt is asking you a specific question and you answering it.
So do you have any example of a bio that you think that works?
Yes. So I can give you a couple that I actually wrote myself here. So one of my clients is very religious. I'm not a very religious person myself, but obviously no judgment. I'm just going to do what's best for my client, right? So one of my clients, he's looking for a woman that is, really into the Christian faith.
Yeah.
And I don't really know that much about the Christian faith at all, but I'm like, okay, this is the formula. You take lead words, we call them. So like subject matters or lead words of what you want to talk about or what you want to actually use to approach, right? So his would be like church. So what are some word associations you can make with church? So Sunday, nice clothes, those little, I call them like the Jesus wafers, right? Or the little, you know what I'm talking about? The little like circle with the cross and they put on the tongue. The Jesus wafers, wine, barbecues, Bible, stories, sins. I just start listing this stuff. And then I go into Hinge and I look at the prompts that way. Because most people, they'll do it opposite. Well, they'll look at the Hinge prompts first and then come up with something to say second. But I'm saying, okay, let's flip it, right? Let's figure out something good to say first, and then we're going to look at the Hinge prompts to then kind of narrow down. So on Hinge, there's a prompt that says my love language. So what is your love language? Waking up on a Sunday to hit church, partly for the sermon, partly for those Jesus wafers. Another Hinge prompt is dating me is like the tingling feeling you get on a Sunday when the sermon feels like it was written just for you. So these types of prompts are going to attract the type of woman that he's looking for while still being funny, creative, and expressing himself that way. Right? Yeah. Let's see. I'll give you a couple more. So I have another I have another client who one thing I asked is like, what are some simple pleasures? Well, he likes drinking whiskey. He's a whiskey drinker. So I put, if Jesus turned water into whiskey, he'd have more followers. And that was the Hinge prompt, was a shower thought I recently had. Another one is another client of mine. He's like, I like to drink my red wine chilled, like cold. So I put as a Hinge prompt, don't hate me if I keep my vibe like I keep my red wine chilled, right? So again, you're being creative, you're being funny, you're being quippy, but it's about yourself. And you're attracting the same values that you're looking for in a woman too.
Yeah. So is there any tips that you do to increase the match rate of a person?
The first thing is your photos. You really have to have really good photos.
Yeah.
And you have to have showing like you have a fun, entertaining, intriguing, and sexy lifestyle. right? Because
Okay.
women, when we're swiping, we're thinking two things. We're thinking, what does this guy look like? And how does my life fit into his? So as you're choosing your photos and writing your bio, you have to think in terms of her interests. Is your photo showing what you look like? Or is it showing more about where you are? You know, it should be more the first one. Does your lifestyle look fun? Or do all of your photos look very forced? Little things like that. Sub-communicating. Do you have friends? Do you have a social circle? That's a very attractive quality for a woman to look for, right? We don't want to date guys who are loners. We don't want to date guys who don't have friends. We don't want to date guys who don't have a social life. That's a value point for us. So, being able to show that in your photos is also very important.
Let's say then now, let's get to like when you get a match. So how would you start the messaging?
So with messaging strategy, the best way to go about is you want to riff or joke off of her prompt. It's almost what I call the being playful and building comfort dance, if you will. Right. So the being playful and building comfort dances. Being playful is you want to riff. Always start the conversation as if you guys were already talking. It should never be, hi, nice to meet you, da da da. I always just go into it as if we were already in a conversation. You want to present yourself with the energy as if you're already friends that haven't seen each other in a while. And so you want to joke on your prompt, and how you joke or how you riff off of it is, again, you take the lead words of whatever it is she's talking about, and you kind of do word associations with that, right? Make up something, make up a silly, a scenario, situation, a strong opinion is a great one. Don't really come out with questions. More make your questions into a statement, and even better, a stronger opinion. And that's going to really entice good conversation. And I have many examples of that, of what I teach in my paid courses. We go over real, because that's one of the other things that is so great about online dating for me, is as a female dating coach, I actually catfish, and I'm a man. I pretend to be a man on online dating and pick up women, so I can show you the data of how that actually works. And I teach guys that way.
Okay, that's it. So when you start the messaging conversation on the app, so how long would you allow it to be the messaging, and when would you initiate the first date?
So you want to initiate the first date after you guys have exchanged, or after she's given you at least 3 high investment responses. So what's a high investment response? A high investment response is something where she is, she's volunteering information about herself without being prompted. She's asking you questions. She's making the effort to continue the conversation with you. She's not, just going to give you LOLs or emojis, but she's actually putting forth some effort and words into the conversation herself. And after 3 times, then you can start what we call seeding for the date. So seeding for the date is where you start to bring up, lead the conversation towards events, locations, or activities. So then you actually have justification to bring up the idea of the date. So if you guys are talking about watching the football game, you know what I mean? Hey, the team is playing, I bet you're one of those fans. I would totally, we're totally going to beat you guys, see how she responds. No way. I love that team, Awesome. All right. Well, listen, let's see you bring the heat this Saturday at the sports bar, and see how she responds. If she's like, yes, let's do it. You know what I mean? Or if she's like, no, I can't, whatever. So then you just go back to building comfort, being playful, and then try again in a few moments. Right. But you're just kind of testing the waters. What you don't want to do is do a very vague, hey, can I get your number? Let's hang out sometime. Period. There's no reason. Girls are always looking for a reason to say no because we have abundance. We have options now. So you need to be the man, and I always be the man and plan something and invite us to a plan, not an idea.
Okay.
And that's a very sexy and assertive move to do that way.
So do you have any examples that you can share?
You're going to have to pay for my course if you want to see those examples. But yes, I mean, I go through very many interactions that I have with women, and I teach you from slide to slide how the conversation progresses, and I show you what I'm exactly doing. But in the example I just said previously, a lot of the times what I just do is I lead the conversation towards an event, an activity, or a location, and that's how you start seeding for the date.
So what would be like an ideal place for a first date? So is it like anywhere that you?
So an ideal place for a first date is something that involves movement of some sort, right? Okay. So so what are bad first dates? Bad first dates are movie theaters, long dinners, places where, an expensive concert or show where you have to sit, you don't really get to talk, you're not even facing each other, and you're just sitting stagnant. Whereas what's a fun date? Movement. Maybe there's a billiards, a pool hall where you guys can shoot pool. Drinks, because drinks isn't just a sit down activity. You can walk around the bar. There's usually places where there's like darts or arcade games. Even like just like coffee walks, like meeting up for coffee, but not sitting at the coffee place, but just like walking around with your coffees, like something, because also movement, there's almost more things to riff off of and continue the conversation because you're in new environments, right? Or if you take her to a bar that has lots of other bars around that same area. So maybe you guys want to get up and move to another location.
Yeah.
So little things like that will really help that connection.
Yeah. So we talk about like location. So when you go on a first date, like what should someone do, like what things they should do?
When someone goes on a first date, what should they do if they want to like go in for the kiss? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Go in for the kiss. So go back to their home or something like that.
So what a lot of mistakes men make on first dates and just in general is they do what we call question stacking. Okay. Where they are just asking questions after questions after questions after questions. Where are you from? What's what do you do for a living? Do you like it? What got you into it? What is your family like? And it's like, they think they're the ones leading the conversation because they're asking the questions, but that's not really the case, is it? You're really just putting that pressure and that problem of coming up with something to say onto her.
Yeah.
And it's just going to have her answer it. And then the problem is right back on your shoulders. So how can you change that? You can make a statement. So turn your questions into a statement, right? So a statement could be like a cold read, where, you can be like, you seem to be from the East Coast. You seem like you're from the West Coast. You seem like you're, really like if she's a teacher, I bet you make a great teacher. It seems like you're really, kids really would look up to you, and then she's going to open up in the information gathering phase about what got her into that instead of just asking her point blank what got her into that. You can just make a statement. It seems like you're really great with kids. And she's going to give you the answer to what that would have been a question, but instead you're doing a statement and it comes off a little bit more intriguing. Right? Yeah. Now it's a little bit more fun. Now it's a little bit more playful. Now it's a little bit more of a more entertaining conversation and not just feeling like it's an interview.
Yes. So I was listening to a podcast yesterday. So you talk about like not having a bad first date. So can you elaborate on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I pride. The first line on my bio is I pride myself on never having a bad first date, and it's true. Because even my worst, quote unquote, bad dates, they make for good stories. Like, I always coach my clients to be a collector of stories, right? Be the collector of stories. A lot of guys are like, I don't have anything to talk about. There's nothing about me that's interesting. Find something, change up your routine, fight like hell to become the most interesting person in the room. Because women, we have options. And so if you're not going to bring your A game to attract her, why should she little herself to be with a guy like you? You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to, being a collector of stories, even my worst dates make for fantastic stories. And I have such a naturally high curiosity, a mindset of curiosity for people. And that's the other thing I try and instill in my clients. It's very hard for me to meet someone and not like them. I like pretty much everyone, unless you're disrespectful, unless you cross boundaries, that's another whole issue. But I'm always trying to instill the energy and the vibe of, hey, we're already good friends, even though I just met you. We're already good friends. You just don't know it yet. Like, that's kind of the energy I'm trying to bring and I'm trying to teach, because people, we are natural mirrors. We kind of mirror what other people that are interacting with us are doing. So if you just go with the intentions and the vibe and the energy of like, oh, we're already friends, well, then odds are they're going to treat you the exact same way, because it's so much easier to relate to someone and to get to know them with just the pressure being off of, I have to, talk about small talk. I gotta, do all the robotronic getting to know you things. Do away with all of that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So before the final question, so you can share how would people find you?
Great. So you can find me on my TikTok or my Instagram, and it is at Jamie Date, JAM as in Mary, IE, DATE. And that's on Instagram and TikTok. Also, you can look up the company Modern Flirting. We are a dating coach company that is led by 6 other male dating coaches and myself. And we teach, there are 3 ways to meet women. It's through online dating, cold approach. It means approaching women, when you see them on the streets or in the bar or whatever. And so your social circle. So if you meet, women through your friends or through coworkers or whatnot. So Modern Flirting, we teach you how to master and optimize all 3 of those avenues. And that, we have daily coaching calls 2 times a day, 6 days a week. We have boot camps where we actually, they come out, our clients from all over the world come out to spend the weekend with us, where they actually get to see them go in action. They approach women. I'm a professional wing woman, where, I talk up the clients to girls that we meet. And because I'm a woman, girls look at them as safe and fun and friendly, and they have social status and social proof because I'm with them. And it makes for meeting women a lot easier. And we teach you all of those things. It's an ongoing coaching program, and it's a community of men from all over the world trying to achieve the same thing you are, getting better with women.
Yeah. So the final question is, what does freedom mean to you?
What does freedom mean for me?
Yeah.
The freedom of time and money, right? So that's the ultimate goal. I want to be able to not have the immediate stress and emergency of needing money. And I want to have ample time for myself to not feel bogged down, weighed down, or forced to spend time, money, and energy on things that don't inspire me. So if I can achieve that, I will have achieved ultimate freedom.
Okay, yeah. So Jamie, it's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Absolutely. You have a great rest of your day, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Thank you for listening to our conversation. Don't forget to sign up to Wise if you need to send or receive money from abroad. Please leave a review and subscribe to the show. See you next time.